Hey guys, it's Darwin here with my weekly Q&A to answer more of your questions. If you want to ask a question for next week's Q&A, you can either leave it in the comment box below or send me a video question over to darwinonthetrail@yahoo.com, and then next week I'll answer as many as I possibly can. Alright, so let's go ahead and get into this week's first question. Have you ever heard of flip-flop hiking, and if so, what are your thoughts? So yeah, a flip-flop hike is taking a long distance trail and usually splitting it up between two different sections. So instead of hiking it northbound and say starting from point A and going to point B, or southbound going from point B to point A, you hike one section halfway and then you flip up and you hike another section. So there's a lot of different ways to do a flip-flop hike, and it seems like the flip-flop through hike has become really popular over the last handful of years, especially last year on the PCT. Because of all the fires and the snow that was in the Sierras, a lot of hikers were just having to flip-flop even though they didn't intend for their hike to go that way. As far as my thoughts on it, I think it's great. Any way that you can hike a trail, get out on the trail and do it. In your opinion, what are some products the outdoor industry is lacking in development or research and design? Are there any pieces of gear that you think could be made better for thru hikers / backpackers? So that's a really good question. I think that the outdoor industry does a pretty good job of making kind of everything that we need. One thing that I would like to see the bigger companies do is not necessarily develop a new product, but it's take some of the products that over the years they've kind of put a lot of bells and whistles on and just simplify them. A good example are packs. I think that there's a lot of companies that make really good packs, from Granite Gear to Osprey. Even Gregory makes some pretty good packs, but my problem with them is they seem to be too cluttered with extra straps and compartments and pockets and stuff that you don't really need on a backpack. Take it back to the basics, because at the end of the day, having something basic on the trail, in my opinion, is a lot better than having something with a bunch of bells and whistles. Aside from that, I don't think that there's anything that the outdoor industry isn't making. I just think that some companies need to make the things better or simplify it. What do you think about alternative ways of blowing up an inflatable pad? I'm learning there is a big problem with mold growth in pads if you use your mouth to blow them up. Do you worry about mold in your pads, and any thoughts on the pros / cons of using other ways of inflation? So I have mold in my pad right now, I'm not gonna lie. I've always used my mouth to blow up pads. I've never used like a pump sack or a little pump or anything. Now, as far as the pump sacks go, I think they're a really good idea if you need a stuff sack in your pack anyways. So say you need a good stuff sack for your sleeping bag or your quilt, I think getting one of those pump sacks and using that as a stuff sack that can also double as a pump sack is a really great idea. But I've never personally used them. As far as I know, I've never had a problem with the mold that's already inside of my pad that I have now. It's never made me sick, at least I don't think so. Thermarest actually just redesigned the Neo Air, which is the pad that I use, and it has a big opening in the front, so you can kind of gather a bunch of air and then roll it instead of blowing into a nozzle. So I think that that would eliminate a lot of mold problems. And if I end up picking up another Neo Air, that's probably gonna be the one that I grab. But yeah, I guess that's just a thing. If you have an inflatable pad and a nozzle, you're gonna get mold in it. Last year was my first year for overnight trips, and I'm hoping to start doing thru hikes. What seems to be the biggest mistakes that people make in the first year and or thru hiking? Obviously it's all opinion. I just put out a video about hike your own hike. In my opinion, I think that the biggest mistake that most hikers do is when they start a thru hike, they bring way too much gear. There's an old saying in the hiking community that we pack our fears and insecurities, and I'm guilty of that myself. Whenever I first started doing really hardcore backpacking, and whenever I first went out and did my first thru hike on the AT, I did carry too much crap. Things that, you know, I thought that I would need because they seemed like a good idea, but then when I got out there, I realized that there was really no need for it at all. As crazy as it sounds, when you're doing a thru hike and you're on a trail from 4 to 6 months, you need a lot less than what you think that you do. And that's why you'll see a lot of thru hikers packs that are super simple and super lightweight, because they've done hikes before and they know that you don't really need that much to live in the woods and hike for 4 to 6 months. Now again, the whole gear thing is totally debatable. You should always do what makes you comfortable, and it's really important to get out as much as you possibly can and do shakedown hikes and figure out what works best for you and what doesn't, what you're comfortable with and what you're uncomfortable with, and plan accordingly and carry the right gear for your setup. With your upcoming PCT hike, are you planning on going north or south considering the weather predictions with Abin and El Nino? So I am going to be going northbound as much as I can. I'm really hoping that we have a really dry winter. There's not a lot of snow in the Sierras because I want to go northbound the whole way. Last year there were a lot of hikers that had to switch their hike up and do something like a flip-flop, where they hiked pretty much to Kennedy Meadows and then they had to flip up and then hike a big section and then come back and do the Sierras. I'm going to try not to do that. I'm a little bit of a purist when it comes to kind of going one direction on a trail. I don't even really like backtracking if I have to. So I am a total northbounder when it comes to thru hikes. Now on small section hikes, day hikes, stuff like that, it doesn't matter. I'll kind of go wherever, but for the PCT, I'm going northbound. What do you think of Hyperlite mountain gear? Hyperlite mountain gear is not bad. I know there's a lot of hikers that use it. I've personally never owned any gear from Hyperlite. I'd give their stuff a try. I just haven't yet. As far as quality and stuff, from what I hear, the quality's really good. Their customer service apparently is kind of lacking because of some past stuff that might have happened to another YouTuber. But I'm a Z-Packs guy. I have been for years. I don't know why. I just really like their gear. I like their customer service. I like the way their stuff is made. But one of these days I might grab some Hyperlite mountain gear stuff and give it a try. How do you keep your nasty shoes from freezing at night? How do you keep batteries and all your gear charged / working when it doesn't get above freezing? So as far as shoes go, if they freeze, they freeze. Lately, I've tried to start bringing my shoes in my tent with me unless they're like really muddy or wet or something. And just the warmth inside my tent, I'm sure helps them from freezing up too much. But I've had it happen multiple times out on the trail. If you're dredging through water during the day on your hike, that night they're just gonna freeze. And pretty much in the morning, you try to beat them out and kind of break them and get them as unfrozen as possible. Put them on your feet and start hiking. Eventually they warm up and they're not too bad. As far as batteries and electronics, if it's really cold and it's below freezing, I always sleep with that stuff in the foot box of my quilt. I'll put my camera, my extra backup battery charger, and I'll also put my water filter in my foot box to make sure that I'm creating some warmth around it to where it doesn't freeze. I don't always do that, but usually if it's like 20 or below, that's when it goes in my foot box. Have you given any thought to your bear canister strategy on the PCT Thru yet? Like which brand, size, and how will you carry it? So right now, the bear vault that I have and that I'm planning on taking with me is the BV450. I haven't taken it out a lot on the trail. I did use it in November whenever Snuggles and I were up in Sequoia and Kings Canyon National Park, because they do require a canister up there. But as far as what my strategy with it is I'm not going to be carrying it for the first 700 miles, obviously, and then I'll be picking it up in Kennedy Meadows and then pretty much carrying it until I don't have to carry it anymore. The good thing is I'll be meeting up with Snuggles every once in a while, like every few weeks, so she'll be able to pick it up from me, and then if for some reason I need it again, she can always meet me somewhere and bring it back. As far as where I'm going to put it, I'm going to put it in my pack. The pack that I use, which is the Z-Packs Arc Blast, has plenty of room for all of my gear plus a canister. I can even use the bigger BV500 if I want to, but right now I'm going to try to stick with the 450. When are you going to start the PCT? Will you give us some idea when you will be at certain sections of the hike? I'd like to meet you on the trail, somewhere near the Waldo Lake area, and maybe hike with you a day or so. Is that something you would want to do? Or do you want to keep your hiking itinerary secret? So I don't want to keep my hiking itinerary secret exactly. I will be out on the trail for almost 3 weeks before I actually publish any of my videos from the trail, but I will keep a pretty constant update on my Instagram account and my Facebook page. So my start date is April the 3rd, and I'll be leaving from Campo and heading towards Canada. As far as people coming out and hiking with me, I might do that. That might be something that I do. Maybe I'll announce a certain place that I'll be, because yeah, I guess that would be pretty cool. But for the most part, I'm just gonna try to get in the zone, get into that hike, and enjoy it as much as I possibly can by myself. I will be doing a weekly video from the trail, but like I said, it will be about 3 weeks back, and the only thing that will be pretty regular and constant will be my Instagram account. What's the plan for Snuggles as you hike the PCT in 2018? Do you plan to have Snuggles follow you north in the new adventure mobile and meet you in towns that you plan on resupplying in? Kind of like your own mobile trail angel that can ensure your water caches are full when you need them, etc. So Snuggles is not hiking the PCT with me, obviously, but she will be following me up the trail, but I probably won't meet up with her as often as what you would think. She's pretty much going to be doing her own thing, and I'll probably see her about once every 2 or 3 weeks. She will be meeting me at places like Kennedy Meadows, so I can trade some gear out before I go into the Sierras. She'll meet up with me at the California-Oregon state line, and then probably again at the Oregon-Washington line. And then probably a few places in between. As far as water caches and stuff, no, she won't be meeting up with me and doing any of that, but she does have plans to go and do some trail magic while she's driving up the trail. Not just for me, but for everybody. But pretty much she's gonna be doing her own thing while I do my own thing, and then we'll be working together to put out videos and Instagram photos so you guys can follow along. All right guys, last question of the week. It all sounds a bit driven, Darwin. Whatever happened to slowing down and enjoying Mother Nature? Christ, on and on. Like, mind you, I get into this mood to don't you ever just start a little later and enjoy your coffee, maybe? Or sit down midway and enjoy the scene. So, there's this big misconception that just because you hike fast and that you do big miles, that you're not enjoying the hike. And it's totally false. I hike fast and I hike big miles just because that's the way I like to hike. I hike fast because I have a really long stride and I come from a running and cycling background, so I just like to move fast. Not because I'm trying to rush or get some particular place, but just because that's how I move. I move fast. As far as hiking big days, like 25, 30-mile days, I do that just because I don't really like hanging out at camp. I'd rather be hiking. You know, I'd rather get up at 7 a.m., kind of take my time in the morning, packing up, breaking down camp, and then I like to hike till 5 p.m. every single day. Now, some days the day is harder, and I might only hike 15 miles, or I might only hike 20 miles. But on days where there's nice, cruisy, flat terrain, yeah, I'll absolutely just go hike 25 to 30 miles, just because that's my style. As far as enjoying it, whether I hike 2 miles or I hike 30 miles in a day, I'm always enjoying the trail. As long as I'm out on the trail and I'm not sitting behind a cubicle, I'm enjoying the trail. I'm being one with Mother Nature, if you will. And from time to time, I also love just stopping in the middle of the day and taking a siesta, taking like a 30-minute to an hour nap on the side of the trail. So again, just because I hike fast and because I hike big miles doesn't mean I'm not enjoying myself and I'm not taking it all in. I think people just take things in and enjoy things in a different way. All right guys, if you want to ask a question for next week's Q&A, you can either leave it in the comment box below or send me a video question over to darwinonthetrail@yahoo.com, and then next week I'll answer as many as I possibly can. So this is the last day that we are here in Joshua Tree, California. I'm really gonna miss this place because unfortunately we are leaving tomorrow and heading to the East Coast. Now I'm not going to give up exactly where we're going on the East Coast yet, but stay tuned and I'll fill you guys in because I have a couple plans for the next 2 months. If you haven't had a chance yet, go over and check me out on Instagram. I've been posting a lot of new photos lately of some of the things that Snuggles and I have going on throughout the week, plus some pictures from some past hikes. If you found any value in this video, go ahead and hit that like button. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. As always guys, thanks for watching.